5 years as it does the day it leaves my shop. I'm gonna wait. I'm just gonna wait. And you know, this Packard I've had in my shop in different pieces and different stages for almost a year and a half. The guy that owns the car is very patient with me. He understands that I'm doing other things than working in the shop. So we got a great relationship like that. He just wants it done right. So me going up to Eastwood in PA for a weekend, I live in Tennessee, just south of Nashville. For me to do that, it allows that stuff to happen. So I don't even have to think about it. I just put my... Okay, good question. He said if it was a TV show, we wouldn't tell people. I would tell you, the thing about TV is that you've got the luxury, you've got the ability to stop, shut the camera down, and then come back in a week. For instance, on the set of Trucks, or Truck Tech is what it's now called, because the lawyers got involved. Anyway, we won't go there.
I just thought you were doing a 93.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah, cool. So we did the matte black Super Sport stripes on there. Yeah, and we're going to talk about, that's what I wanted to talk about, is matte finishes. Thank you for reminding me. Does that say, oh God, I thought your shirt said wiener, it says member. Anyway, sorry. How are we doing for time, Joe? Okay. What was I talking about? I'm sorry. I went blue. Okay, yeah, matte finish on the stripes. Typically, we've got 2 projects going on at any given time. Our studios are 360 degrees, which means it's technically a workshop with a bunch of TV gear in it. We can shoot in any direction, which is not typical television. The DIY shows that I did, there was a facade. It was a false set with an open ceiling and very expensive production lights in the top, and, you know, a 2/3 shop at best with fake walls, because the studio that I worked at, they would break the sets down between seasons. Typical season is 10 shows, maybe 12 shows. Then they would wipe the set clean, build another set for another show, you know, and they would rotate their studio space like that because it's precious, because the lighting gear and the equipment is so expensive. They have to utilize that floor space over and over again.
Is it in a big warehouse?
And Power Block is in a big warehouse, yes, and most TV studios are. Power Block is different. It's a different animal. We've got a fraction of the crew of traditional television and way more space and a lot more time. We're full-time salaried employees there. I was a freelance guy at DIY. I'd go in, we shoot the shows, I'd go home. It's a full-time job Monday to Friday at Power Block. There's no B crew that comes in, does the work for us. That's why we got 2 projects going on at one time. We can shoot on this one over here. Ryan's over there turning wrenches, or I'm over there cutting and rubbing or doing body work while he's presenting a brake package on this one over here. So it's constantly rotating like that. But back to the question is, we have the luxury of stopping and saying, okay, we can't shoot anything today because we've got 18 hours of work to do here. So we tag team that, we get the work done, and then we can do that. So we get to tell a 100-hour story in 17 minutes, 34 seconds. So, you know, consequently, one of the biggest criticisms that people have, and I get it, and I criticize this as well, is we don't show the stuff that falls between the cracks. We don't tell the whole story. We just can't. We just can't. What we can do is look at it, well, entertain too, but look at it and take what we feel is the most important aspect of that particular job on that particular application and try and tell, you know, pass on the best techniques with that. So it's an overview, but at the same time, yeah, they're fun to watch, and we still get to pass on some techniques. So, you know, which also gives me the ability to, next time around, I'm not showing the same thing again. I can say, well, last time we showed you how to do a quick and dirty paint job and blend into a panel. Now we're going to show you how to blend the whole side with a 3-stage candy, whatever. I can tell a different story on the same template, if that makes sense. But anyway, TV's fun, but it's not reality. There's no such thing as reality television. If it's got a camera on it and it's edited, it's not reality. Yes, sir.
Did you guys ever think about putting like a DVD version out there that would have more hours?
The question is, do we ever think about a DVD version that would have more hours? Yes. We suggested that. The best they could come up with was doing a build series and link the shows together. For instance, we did a 66 C10 pickup. Long to short wheelbase conversion, air suspension, waterborne paint job, really fun truck. They did, I don't know, they called it the C10, whatever the project name was, build series, and they linked, that truck was probably 8 or 9 shows, something like that. They linked them all together on one DVD. That's the best they can do. To go back in and break all that stuff open and re-edit it, very expensive. Very expensive, because you got to start from the very bottom level, and they just didn't have the resource to do that.
Since you brought up the waterborne paint system,
yes.
what's your personal preference or opinion?
I hated waterborne until I sprayed it. The question was, what is my preference on waterborne paint, and what's my opinion on it? I was afraid of it. I hated it until I sprayed it. The system that I trained on, I actually flew up to Salt Lake City to get ready to do a TV show and not be an idiot and know what I was talking about when I presented it on television. So it was a PPG system. So I go to a training center in Salt Lake City, and it was a 3-day class on waterborne paint applications. And the more I learned, the better the system is. There's better coverage, color match is better, and there's 82% less solvents, VOCs, going out into the atmosphere. Yes, it's sandwiched in between a layer of solvent clear and a layer of solvent surfacer, but yes, it's more environmentally friendly, and the tiniest increments help with the OEs, with DuPont, which is actually, what's the DuPont name now? It's Exalta, thank you. Yeah, Exalta coatings, the big guys, Axo Nobel, those guys are regulated so heavily by the EPA for volatile organic compounds, for pollution. And the paint system is constantly changing over and over again. So what waterborne does, as does Europe, so does the United States, California first, then it comes back this way. So it allows the paint manufacturers and everybody to still use this stuff, to still do the process, and over countrywide with thousands and thousands of body shops, it's a tiny step, but it's an important step because it's less pollution. Let's face it, I make jokes about being environmentally friendly. We all want to leave it better than we found it. We all want to try it. It's just an inherent responsibility that we have. So waterborne is part of that. So getting back to technique, there's a difference in drying waterborne. I'm going to talk about it a little bit. Spray technique is spray technique. You guys that have sprayed water, a 50% overlap, a drop coat for distribution, it's the same, whether it's water or not. The biggest difference that was taught to me with waterborne, there's your substrate, there's your panel, and then you got a coat. With solvent, you can dry it, you can get air movement on that panel, directly on that panel, and the solvents will eventually get out of it because they're evacuating out. With water, if you force air right down onto the top of it, it's going to skin and it's going to trap. And with waterborne, if it traps, you're in big trouble because you can't. It's going to tape track. It's going to pull loose. What you have to do with waterborne, the biggest difference, and really to me the only difference, is drying technique. Not even spraying technique. You've got to cross-cut your airflow. You've got to go across the side of it and pull it out of the panel instead of pushing the air into it. Because pushing the air into it with solvent the solvent's going to evacuate. With water, you got to cross-cut your airflow. That's the biggest difference. Is that accurate to what you know?
Have you noticed much of a build difference between the two?
I haven't used enough of it to know. Have you?
Yeah, it's a lot. Waterborne is a lot thinner in a base clear.
Yeah.
In a base, you will no longer be able to hide any imperfections.
Interesting.
Your surface prep, like you say, is do it.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, and I remember this now. Thank you for reminding me. What's your name? Ralph talked about the difference in surface, but the mill thickness of your waterborne base coats, way thinner. You get 2-coat coverage instead of 5-coat coverage on a blue. So you got less material on that. Plus, the material itself is thinner. So you end up with less, so what you could prep with 400 for a light metallic color with a solvent, now you got to step up to 600 with water. So there's another difference in preparation, not necessarily application, but preparation as well. So good point.
Do you have more drip?
Ralph gets the bar soap.
Do you have more
All
drip?
right. Sir?
Do you have more drip with the water base?
I'm going to say no. Do you have more drips, more runs with water base? No, because in the base coat, if you get a run in base coat, you saved yourself from falling into something catastrophic happened because base coat is essentially very hard to make it run. So something really bad happened if you get a run in your base coat. So technically no. And the thing about it is, like I said, you're trapping it between a layer of solvent and a layer of solvent. Now it's this. There's your waterborne base. Now's your clear. It's a sandwich. It's a solvent sandwich. And that's the best they can come up with now. Until they find a waterborne clear coat that's user-friendly and repeatable in a production or a non-production environment, we're a ways away from a waterborne clear. However, isn't Europe using waterborne clears? Okay, so it's coming. It's coming. The good news is for us hobby guys, we're not regulated as heavily as production environments because the usage just isn't up there enough. It's just we're using less. So the VOCs coming off the hobby systems, it's a fraction of what collision repair and what OE paint application is. So we're a ways away from it, but it's not a bad idea to keep it in the back of your mind. And, just to say it out loud again, it's not hard. It's not hard to use. The biggest pain in the butt with going to water is the way your guns and your equipment are cleaned. You can't use solvent to clean water out. Just like, you got to use, there's special waterborne cleaners that get this stuff out of your gun, out of your fluid passages with your guns. So it's different, it's coming, whatever. The paint systems change about every 5 years anyways. Some little subtle thing that you got to retrain. It's just part of it. It's just part of the system. So it's what's coming next, but I don't know. I want to talk about one more thing. It has nothing to do with paint application, fixing runs, or anything like that. I talked about my little Mustang Jaded. What we're doing also with Eastwood TV, we're doing live workshops. How many guys are aware that we're doing live streams for free? Please, guys, we're doing these neat things. We broadcast from my shop in Tennessee. We got a great internet connection down there, but I go through a laptop computer with my production gear. I've got a videographer that follows me around. Eastwood HQ does question and answers. You guys can log on. You can ask questions while we're doing the demos. We do a Q&A at the end of it, but it's live TV, people. It's wicked cool. Yes, sir?
If I miss it, is it working? Can I see it another time?
Yes, absolutely. If he misses it because he's working, if you don't have time to log on with the live show, please find us on Eastwood TV, on YouTube. Ustream is the delivery device that we use, but Eastwood TV, right, Randy? Yeah, Eastwood TV on YouTube. We've had as many as 15, 20,000 views a couple of days after the live stream. It's a wonderful way to use the internet. There's a lot of crap on the internet, but there's some wonderful ways to use it. So essentially, it brings you guys into my shop, live, in the moment. And you get to see something real time. Unlike television, what I'm doing real time, and if I sink or swim by that stuff. So we've done things like color sanding and buffing, chip repair, dent repair, proper filler applications, basic spray techniques. We're going to do one on powder coating. We've done one on Elasti-Wrap. Elasti-Wrap is a really cool thing. It's not just for the tuner guys that want, an iridescent stripe down the middle of their car. There's very practical applications for it as well. For instance, Jaded, my Mustang, pro touring car, wheels are about $1,500 a corner. They're very expensive. It's a three-piece wheel that's custom fit for the car. If I'm going to bang on it on an autocross, that brake test is about 1,000 degrees. It's going to get on my polished hoops, and it's going to either cause me a lot of work or ruin the wheels. I don't want to do that. Elasti-Wrap comes in either aerosol or pneumatic spray delivery. It's a removable rubber coating. It's really, really cool. They've even got a color guide to where you can intermix and create your own colors. They've got clear coats. There's black. I did my wheels in black. I went and did a couple hard laps on the autocross, got it all good and heated up. At the end of the day, pulled it back to the show booth, peeled it off in a sheet, and went home. It's cool stuff. I know you've seen guys protect the leading edges of their cars for a road tour or for a road test or to shake one down or something like that. Using masking tape to protect the paint, to protect the leading edges, because you got to display somewhat. We all want to drive our cars. Sometimes we leave them at home because there's just issues. It takes so long to clean them up. What I did with the Elasti-Wrap on the quarter panels is I sprayed it six coats deep behind the rear wheel, and that's about the right application to where you can grab an edge and peel it off like a sheet. It's cool stuff. And the clear coat, all I could see was a little bit of a halo between my Elasti-Wrap and the polished, sanded, and buffed panel. It was completely clear and actually a pretty nice gloss. So what that did is gave me the ability to go to the 8th mile drag strip, to do a stupid-ass burnout in the parking lot, to get rubber, hot rubber on the sides, or brake dust, or even rock chips, because it's 6 coats deep. It's a rubberized coating. The rocks, what are they going to do? They're going to bounce off of it. So it's a wonderful way. You could spray your leading edges. I had a fella say he's got a Factory 5 Cobra kit car, fiberglass body. Bulged out fenders on the big block cars, the 427 cars, different than the 289 cars, right? They're bulged out fenders. The wheels kick out. They're going to kick out rocks. He wants to drive this thing. I want him to drive this thing. So we're talking about it, and you can create a panel to where the Elasti-Wrap even looks like a non-removable coating. It looks like a bra or something like that in clear. You can color match, whatever. There's all kinds of stuff that these guys have done. Matt Murray's truck out here, Project Pile House. Half of it's done in Elasti-Wrap. When you guys leave, look at the back, the taillight panel of the thing. You can see it in the sheet just flopping off of there. It's a cool coating. Yes, you can use it on your ATV and go some crazy hot pink color. They're even coming out with like chameleons and stuff like that. But for a practical application, you can do your wheels, you can do leading edges. So, you know, it's not just for the tuner kids, or it's not just for ATV or off-road. It's a neat coating.
You were going to talk about matting.
What's that?
You were going to talk about him, about the matting on the paint.
Oh, yeah. Okay, now we're talking about matte finish. Just kind of real quick, because everybody's wants to go and see the car show. Matte finishes, you have to treat them differently. I've had the question before, can you cut and rub a flat finish or a semi-gloss finish? The answer is, of course, no. You can't. You can, but you're going to create shiny spots in it where your imperfections are. So you have to prepare doubly to have a very clean paint environment as well as a very flat surface. So what I use is a flow coating technique. John Kosmowski years ago had videos on doing his candy jobs, and he calls them flow coats, where you get everything built up, and then you sand it flat, and then you come back with your final clear, and it self-levels beautifully. I really like that technique, and it serves me very well. So when I'm doing a matte insert on the middle of a hood, like on the jaded car, I'm doing everything, I'm burying my stripes and graphics under my glossy clear, then I come back and back mask, and then I spray down my matte clear. What I do on top of that, because you can't cut and rub, your technique has to be spot on, and your painting environment has to be spot on, and you have to try and eliminate as much of the magnetic draw off the panel as you can. The last tip I'm going to tell you is one of the most important. Rubbing alcohol, isopropyl rubbing alcohol. How many people have ever sprayed fiberglass parts? A canopy, cars, trucks, fiberglass, when you start to rub it down, you wipe, it pulls the hair off your arm. It's like a balloon. You rub a balloon on your head, it gets a static draw. Fiberglass does the same thing. Real pain in the butt. So alcohol, a wipe down with rubbing alcohol, will eliminate that static charge. That is the final step before me applying a matte clear on top of any kind of substrate, because it eliminates the static cling, which typically draws dirt and particles down into your paint. Spray technique is spray technique. You got to have that. And the other thing too is I've seen guys spray in cotton t-shirts. I made the mistake once of having cotton wristbands on, because in Tennessee where I am, it's very hot and I perspire. And sometimes you can have sweat running off your elbows, and you know, your technique is like this. You're spraying your panels, sweat will run down into the panel. It breaks your heart. In wet paint, it'll ruin a paint job. So I had these cotton, basically tennis sweatbands on, and they leached off so much particulate. These particles would come off, and it was a light color, and they were black. It was horrible. It was bad. Don't do that. I typically take a lint-free shop towel, fold it, wrap it, masking tape, then I put my spray suit on. I think it's about 75% of the dirt and trash that falls in a panel doesn't come from the environment, it comes from the painter. There is, what's the ratio? It's 107 pounds. 107 pounds. That's what the typical human body evacuates in dry skin cells over the lifetime. I'm not kidding. The filters that you change out in your house, in your HVAC system, it's not dust, it's skin. Ah! Okay, remember that, because if you're painting with your arms bare, you know, the skin is coming off. Dander from your hair. Cotton t-shirts, you're getting lint from the cotton t-shirts. Your paint job is only as clean as the environment, and you're a huge part of the environment, because face it, if I've got a cotton shirt on and I'm reaching across the hood, what did I just do? I scrubbed two pieces of cotton together, and I scrubbed it together, and I'm just dumping a bunch of stuff down in the wet paint. So think about that. Disposable paint suits, forget about safety for a second, and we'll talk about that in just a second, but forget about safety. Let's keep a clean environment. Let's have everything as perfectly clean as we possibly can to eliminate those things from happening in the first place. Never mind the fact that, let's face it, we're dealing with solvents, chemicals, harsh stuff. Let's protect ourselves. Let's live to paint another day. The only other thing I want to say, and thank you guys for hanging around so much and listening to me babble on about this stuff. I really appreciate it, and it's a privilege and an honor to be able to stand up here and share some of the things that I've learned over the years, and I hope you do the same. And on that note, we have a responsibility in our industry. I'm looking around, and I see some young guys, but the rest of us, you know, we're getting some salt and pepper here. I turned 51 years old this year, and I feel like I'm 18, you know, until tomorrow morning. But let's face it, we got to get some people in this industry. We have to reach out and mentor. If you got somebody that wants to help, or somebody that says, hey, how did you do that? tell them how. Say, well, come over to the shop. Something like a nephew. It's a privilege and a wonderful thing to be a part of a father and son build. You know, the bonding process with that is irreplaceable in life. If you can ever even just reach out just a little bit to help somebody, to mentor somebody, a school kid that looks at your car twice as you pull into the Walmart parking lot, say, do you like old cars? I don't know, instigate that. You don't have to be creepy about it. Nobody's going to arrest you. You know what I'm saying? But I don't even want to go down that path because this is really important, and you guys know this, right? So if you can, reach out to somebody, I don't know, go to a car show, engage somebody in a conversation about it, and let's keep our hobby and our industry alive. And on that note, thank you guys so much for being a part of this demo, and I really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the car show, the Eastwood Summer Classic. And by the way, great sales in the sale tent, too. So, okay.